Ichi is Japanese for one. So one the killer or the number one killer. Well, probably not the number one killer. It's probably like one the killer.
I'm learning stuff already, man. So what do you want to talk about first? You know what? I think because the movie is the first thing that came out, I want to talk about that first because the anime is a prequel anyway to the movie.
Okay, yeah, we could do that.
And it's fresh, I saw the movie ages ago, and it just, when you watch the movie, it seems to be about this kid who seems to be like a hired assassin, some crazy. If you've never seen this before, I'm saying this in a way that you've never seen this before. You just press play on the movie. It seems to be this kid. He works in a restaurant, and he seems to be this kind of weak, kind of pussy kind of kid.
He doesn't work in a restaurant, does he?
He works in I don't think in the beginning, but there's a point where he's working in a restaurant. I'm only telling you what I can remember. You can clear this up for me now.
I don't remember him working at a restaurant in the movie, but in the manga he works at a metal shop, or like a metal factory.
Well, it doesn't really matter. I know he's getting bullied at work or something. Anyway,
yeah.
Whatever he's doing in his normal time, he part times as a assassin for some kind of syndicate of some sort, and it's just insane. Honestly, that's all I could really understand. He was an assassin wearing some mad get up like Gantz type suit with blades, with like ice skating blades.
Maybe I should do this because it seems.
Do this, I'm lost, oh boy, it confused me.
Yeah, okay. I'm pretty sure at least this much of the manga and the movie are the same. From what I remember, is he doesn't work for a syndicate. He actually works for one guy, an old man who like brainwashes him and lies to him and stuff, and he actually makes him go from like a total pussy to snapping and like becoming this raging psychotic maniac through his brainwashing. But he only works for one guy, and that guy hires himself out to other syndicates to kill each other. His ultimate goal is to wipe out all the Yakuza using this guy. Okay. Yeah, using that guy. So basically what this story is about is like brainwashing and the psychology of sadomasochism. Because the kid, the guy who gets picked on all the time, then he snaps, he's like 100% sadist, but he represses it all the time. He lets himself get bullied because he's brainwashed to think he's like a wimp, and he really isn't. Whereas the main antagonist is like a 100% masochist. His dream is to, be flayed by the guy, basically.
What?
Yeah. It's really weird and fucked up.
That's crazy. So, in the context of the movie, that what is actually happening is he's just hired. It just seems to be he's killing off this group of people. Then I guess.
Yeah. What happens is the old man picks targets that are, obviously going to set off a chain of events where different Yakuza clans kill each other, right? So he picks the targets and through his brainwashing convinces the bullied guy that actually I think his name's Ichi. So he convinces Ichi that these guys are different guys, either from his past who bullied him in high school or are just like them. And then once he gets, usually he's still like the really wimpy guy and everything when he meets him or whatever. But then they usually push his buttons and he goes like fucking nuts.
The movie is crazy, man.
The movie is actually very similar to the manga. It cuts some stuff out for time restraints. Really, is the way I feel about it.
I think the movie's quite old as well, isn't it? Wasn't it made in the early 90s?
Yeah, it's a pretty old one. I remember seeing it with my owners quite a while ago.
Funny enough, I saw the anime first, because we can talk about anime now, right? They're very closely tied together.
That's fine. We can talk about the anime and then the manga.
I think it's very interesting, because when I watch the anime, it starts off the introduction to the anime, the first 5 minutes, it seems to start off like somewhere like in a movie. He's already an assassin and he's killing someone. I don't know who he's targeting, but it's a really ridiculous and it's kind of comical fight scene, to be honest with you, because the first thing that happens is, I'm not spoiling this, it happens straight away, people.
Yeah.
He gets a needle through the nose.
Mm-hmm.
The guy sticks a needle through his nose and he's just mumbling to himself that this hurts, the pain. Yeah. Why did you do this to me?
He starts crying.
And then he starts crying like Crying Freeman, if you've seen the anime as well. And you can tell this guy's kind of weird. You can tell from what he's wearing that he's going to kill this guy, but he just is like, the way he's acting like a child or something, like, what the fuck is up with this guy? and the guy that he's killing is in shock. He's just in some kind of shock that he's about to be assassinated. And then what follows is just a really bizarre murder. But it's kind of comical to me. Sorry, I know I'm crazy, but it is kind of comical to me.
It's supposed to be kind of comical. I mean, it's really weird. It's really weird because it's like this guy in the stuntman suit with a blade on his heel is chasing around this middle-aged fat guy that's naked.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it boils down to in that scene.
And and the funny thing is, if you haven't seen it, you just watch that, you're like, okay. And then the anime, after the credits roll, anime starts, and it just seems to be this kid. And I think as the anime starts, is he in a hospital or is he in? He's
in a psychiatric ward.
He's in a psychiatric ward, and there's a doctor talking about him, and they're talking about he's a kind of damaged youth. He's been abused, he's been bullied, and he has problems. They don't really go too much into it. And you see Ichi doing a lot of press-ups. He's doing a lot of exercise. You can see he's a well-toned young man. You know what I mean? But he seems kind of frustrated. He seems something's wrong. And as the anime goes on, I think it's told in different. It keeps on flashing forward and back to certain times in his life. But I think before he was in the psychiatric ward and after, they keep on going back and forward. Like when he was living with his family. Was that an adopted family he was in with? Was that his real family?
That was his real family, and his real family was fucked up.
You know what? Yeah. The anime, it's a very psychological anime, but to me, it's a character piece. It's only about Ichi. The movie, he's already a serial killer. This anime sets the tone of how this happened, his mentality, and...
Well, not just that. I mean, it answers questions because when you read the manga or see the movie, it's like, was that bullying? They do raise the point, like, how much of the bullying really happened? Was he completely brainwashed or whatever? And it answers your question. He actually was bullied to some extent.
He was. It's quite a sad anime because he seemed like a nice guy. I think it's debatable whether he truly, like you said, he was a sadist, right?
Yeah, he's like 100%. He's like the way extreme.
Yeah, he is. But when you watch the anime, I don't know if they're trying to get your sympathy because you see him getting bullied by his parents, his little brother, and school bullies. And he seems, and always there's a big element of sexual frustration as well because he keeps on. There's a lot of in the anime. There's scenes where he's in the room, he's in his bedroom, and his room seems to be next to his parents' room, and he can hear them having sex,
having violent sex,
and as they're having sex, he's getting aroused and confused, and he's getting really frustrated, and it gets to a point where he has to run outside and do something because. You might even think, why don't you just fucking jack off if you're that tense? But it doesn't seem to do it for him. Jacking off doesn't seem to give him that release. And he soon finds out something else does. And unfortunately, that thing is killing. And it starts off with animals. They flash back in school. This anime, by the way, if you think I'm spoiling it for you, this anime is only 40 minutes.
Yeah, it's only one episode.
It's only one episode, so me telling you about it and you watching it, it's not gonna take anything away from you. And he starts off killing animals in school, and the bullies find out that he killed a rabbit, and it all comes to a climax.
Oh yeah.
The interesting thing about the anime, there's only one thing I can spoil, which I'm not going to, is that it seems that sooner or later you start to see he's being observed by someone. And at the end, the ending is the real insane part. I don't know. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but because we've spoken enough about the plot. All you really need to know is Ichi the Killer, episode 0, which anime is called. It seems to be it's a character development episode of how this guy came to be, and how the guy that uses him, that brainwashed him to begin with. It's really fucked up.
Yeah. I think really what the anime serves as is when you watch the movie or read the manga, it answers questions about Ichi for you.
Yeah.
It's there for that.
I've read reviews as I always do, and it seems people enjoy it. I enjoy it because I think it's a good character piece anime. The movie could be passed off as another wacky, violent slasher film, but the anime. and maybe the manga as well, it kind of shows you there's a character, and an interesting character, to be honest. There's layers to his psychosis, which is very interesting. And the last 10, 20 minutes in the anime is kind of cool, because he meets someone that is just fucked up as him. So if I had to... Oh, and talking about the anime, I like the animation. I watched the English dub. The dub was good. It's a short anime, so there's not much to say. The animation wasn't bad. It was very decent. The killing scenes are drawn in a really crazy way. It's very violent, so kids, don't watch it.
I thought the animation was kind of meh.
It is. I liked it though, but I think people just think it's... I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's good. It's just okay. There's nudity in it. There's sex, softcore kind of sexy scenes in it. It's an over the board. It's an 18 plus anime anyway, but you will see some nudity, some sex, some violence, and all that other shit. But I think it's a very, very interesting character piece. I really like the anime. If I had to give it a rating, I would have to give it an acquired taste. There's a part of me, I would give it a B on one hand, but more than not, I have to give it an acquired taste because it's not for everyone.
Yeah, it really isn't.
Hell to the no.
It is something I like. It's very fascinating to me. The anime is kind of... If you don't watch the movie or read the manga, then the anime is going to be really fucking weird to you. So that's why I say it really should serve as after you've watched or read to answer some of your questions. I would give it an acquired taste too, because it's a hard... First of all, as much as I like the manga and everything, that's a really hard sell for some people. I mean, it's just not going to be a lot of people's thing, because it's very gratuitous with the gore, the violence, sex, the wieners flopping around, and all this other shit. So if you're squeamish about that, especially if you're homophobic, don't read it.
I think the most interesting thing about Ichi the Killer is if you got all three, I don't think it really matters how you watch it. You can watch the prequel first or the movie. It doesn't really seem to matter, because watching this guy is just interesting in itself. Even though he's a killer, he's just interesting.
Yeah, he's interesting because he's different. And I agree, the order doesn't matter as long as you do 2 of the 3. I mean, if you just watch the anime and you're like, what the fuck is this? And you stop, you did that wrong. So that's why I say 2 out of 3.
Yeah, it's good. So anyway, old boy, I think we was talking about Ichi the Killer a couple of weeks ago, and you told me there's another manga you was reading that kind of has the same kind of themes as this as well.
It definitely has a similar spirit, but it's actually really different. But then again, it's not that different. It's really weird like that. It's called Neighbor Number 13.
It sounds like an American thriller as it is. Neighbor Number 13.
It really sounds like a bad movie title.
Well, 13. Ironically, this is Dreamcast episode 13. Da-da-da-da. And 13 is a very unlucky number. 13.
Shut up.
They're thinking it. I'm just saying it anyway. That sounds kind of stupid. Anyway, ironically, but I forgot we was meant to talk about the emails. But the email, it kind of relates to all this anyway.
Oh, people are wondering. Do it afterwards. We have to talk about the manga.
Oh, because I thought you said the manga is so similar to the movie. Anyway, that's your department. Go for it, man.
The manga isn't. The first thing is the manga is 10 volumes. You just can't fit that much content into a movie without cutting out a lot of it. So, does it follow the manga pretty faithfully? Yeah, for the amount of time you have to run a movie. So that's the first thing. But there actually are several things I want to point out about the manga that you can't get from the movie, etc., etc. The first thing is, this is done by the guy who does Homunculus. Do you know what Homunculus is?
I do not.
It's another strange series. It's outside the box. You know me, I like that different stuff. It's another series that's psychological driven. The artwork's really different. I wanted to talk about the manga because you don't get it as much in the anime, but I like this artist because he makes his characters look different. I forget what that term's called, where they all look the same and then they have like different colored hair or whatever. I hate that shit.
Carbon copying?
I don't know. We can call it that for now, but it's like all the characters look very different. Same thing in Homunculus. You'll notice the characters look very different from each other, which is that's more realistic. And it's not just more realistic; they actually look kind of cartoony and everything. But it's nice that they don't all look the same. You know what I mean? So that's something that drew me into it. But I mean, when you start reading the manga, the first thing you see is Ichi, and he's like screaming and crying in this big blown up picture. That's the first thing you see when you start reading the manga. That's gonna be like either you look at that and you're like, no, this isn't my thing, or you get curious and you start reading about it. And so you don't fail this blinder test. I'm just going to tell you, it's about a sadist psychology and a masochist psychology and brainwashing and stuff like that. It is actually, despite all the gore and the nudity and all that shit, there are actually a lot of penises in it. So if you're squeamish about that, don't read it or try to block it out. Use a Post-it, put it on your screen.
Not sex per se, but just penises. Is that what you're saying?
Well, there actually is some sex in it, but yeah, more the penises than anything. It's try to block it out, try to get past it, because the story, we already talked about, the character is very interesting, but the story is actually really interesting too. It's like I said, this old guy brainwashes this brain damaged, psychologically brain damaged guy who was bullied, who's actually really strong. Brainwashes him, uses him to destroy different Yakuza clans all at once.
This guy must be fucking talented, boy. He beat the whole... Anyway.
Well, it shows throughout the series. When you hear that, you're like, okay, yeah, whatever. But then when you see it actually happening in a story, it's like, okay, that guy actually is pretty quick on his feet when it comes to talking.
He is. You do see that in the anime. He's really in his legs. He does a lot of squats in the anime. You can tell he's got a good muscle tone there.
I was actually talking. Well, yeah, Ichi's really fast with his feet. But I was talking about the brainwashing the old man. He's actually really glib. He does have the gift of gab.
Oh yeah.
He knows how to talk his way out of everything. So he's legit. It's really interesting to see how everything turns out. It's like I said, because it's about sadism and masochism and even brainwashing, bullying, all that stuff. Some stuff is a little hard to read through. It's a little easier to watch through the movie because it happens like that, real fast. But when you're reading the manga, it delves into it more. It's deeper with a lot of that stuff and explaining it and showing how the characters are dealing with it or how they feel about it and stuff. But I would recommend it to anybody. First of all, anybody who wants to read something different. Something different, I'm usually the guy to come to. I like the different stuff. But the other thing is, like, if you were ever curious about this fucked up stuff, the sadism and masochism, this is a good read. So is Homunculus, if you're interested in psychology, not the sadomasochism stuff.
Okay. And Neighbor number 13, right?
And Neighbor number 13 is a lot less of the psychology and character-driven stuff, and more of a homicidal maniac murdering people.
Okay. So let me ask you about the manga. Does it kind of wrap up? Does it go to a conclusion? Does it finish, or could they make another sequel because the story didn't end?
The story ended for Ichi, but it leaves on a cliffhanger where it can continue following a different character.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah, it basically ends right at that climactic fight scene that's actually kind of funny too, where he chases the naked middle-aged guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's actually the ending. It's very close to the ending of the manga, but then it goes on a little bit further, with a...
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. All right, so what would you rate the whole thing? I don't know if you gave the whole thing a rating.
Well, I give the anime, but it would extend to the movie and the manga as well. It's an acquired taste, A lot of people are not going to be feeling this, but there are going to be some people where they really like it. It does have some strong appeals to it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the anime. I think it's a character piece, and it's one of those anime. I've seen a lot of psychological anime like Serial Experiments Lane and a lot of anime that make you think. But this character, to me, it was very interesting, and I liked seeing a lot of the social issues and the mind manipulation, brainwashing that was going on. It was really cool for such a short anime. I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
It's got some praise, and I think the movie is kind of a quasi cult classic. From what I can understand, from what I've heard.
I think it actually is pretty popular, despite being, really gory and everything. But I think the manga, Ichi is a really interesting character, because in anime and manga, there are a lot of characters that are bullied, but they always turn out to be, the goody two-shoes. And
yeah,
he is the protagonist, but he's really fucked up.
Yeah, he is. But, I don't know. It's hard for me to say this, but for some strange reason, I feel like maybe the author wants you to sympathize with him because it's like it feels like he's being forced to do it at first because of the bullying, and he's being brainwashed to do it, and you just maybe you wonder if would he be this person if he really wasn't being controlled and manipulated. I don't know, but that's why I find it interesting.
Yeah, it definitely gives you a lot to think about. I mean, I think he could have possibly turned out this way or even worse, but he definitely is being used, but he definitely has something wrong with him upstairs. You know what I mean?
Definitely. And you know, I bought that anime. I really liked it. I got it in my DVD collection, and I watched it for a laugh because I find a lot of it comical. Because in that anime, it's not a lot of violence. Like the beginning, middle, and end, there's violence, but the most of it is just him going through the struggles of being bullied and psychologically how he's thinking, and I really like that more. And I remember when I gave it to Nuance.
Wow, you gave it to her?
I give her everything I watch, whether she likes it or not.
Give her the manga, see what she says.
Well, yeah. Well, maybe, but yeah, after I read it, I have to test these things with her, you know, and then I decide what to punish her with. But yeah, I mean, she was just quiet. And, you know, I don't know. I think she appreciated it, but she looked at me like, don't bring that shit to my house again. But I think she admitted that it was interesting. And, you know, I might ask her about it later on in the podcast if she can remember, because it has been a long time. But, you know, it's one of those animes I like having. A short little OVA that's totally different. And it's not just mindless violence. There's a lot to think about, a lot of issues, a lot of things. So it's good, man. I would, you know, ultimately, I would, if you, well, I can't recommend it because it's a quiet taste, but if you like what you hear, check it out.
Yeah, definitely. Or even if you're just curious, you know, and you're not squeamish. You can't be squeamish.
That's the component. That's the deciding component you need to think about. Do you like violence? Can you take scenes, excessive violence, and anime? There's only a few scenes, not so much, but still, they are bad. When they do happen, they are graphic.
Yeah, when they do happen, it's pretty whoa.
Yeah, so. But anyway, boy, we're speaking enough about this.